Alright YouTube, today we are reacting to 3 disturbing true sleepover horror stories by Mr. Nightmare. Without further ado, I'm gonna leave the link in the description if you can go watch the video for yourself. And don't forget to like, subscribe, let's get straight into it.
5 years ago, I got out of a serious relationship. I had been with her for almost a decade. We started dating in high school and stayed together through college and beyond. I feel like high school sweethearts rarely work out in the end.
That's true.
The first time in a long time, I was gonna try dating. I had no idea how to even date as an adult, so I did what a lot of people did and downloaded some dating apps. I went on a few dates with a few different women, but they went nowhere. That changed when I met JoJo. Her name was Josephina, but she hated it, so she went by JoJo. We started talking and taking things slow because we both got out of long-term relationships. Not long into our brand new relationship, she was asking me to sleep over at her place. At first, I turned down the invitation because I like taking it slow, and
Alright, man.
sleeping over was a huge step for me.
Alright.
She kept asking me almost every day.
He ain't trying to go missing. This is some Mr. Nightmare shit. He might end up gone.
Take the couch if I was uncomfortable. I finally asked her why she wanted me to stay over so badly. She got quiet and almost looked embarrassed. She said she didn't want to tell me the reason, but it would mean the world if I stayed. I told her I would stay only if she told me the reason, and I promised I wouldn't judge her. A promise that I was about to break in about 2 minutes.
Wait, I don't know what I'm missing here.
She went on to tell me that for the last few weeks, she hasn't been able to sleep well. She would wake up in the middle of the night and swear she could see someone standing in the corner of her bedroom. She originally thought it was just shadows. Darkness has a way of playing tricks on her eyes. But when she would wake up in the morning, that corner with the shadow was empty, and nothing around the room looked like it could make a person-shaped shadow.
Dog, I see why he didn't want to sleep over. She got some,
Over the few weeks that followed,
shit
she
going
said
on
that
in
she
her
had become
room.
even more scared. She said she couldn't even get out of bed if she wanted to. She slept on the couch one night, and when she woke up in the middle of the night, the shadow figure was standing in the doorway. She was convinced she was going crazy. The night before she told me all this, she threw a stuffed animal at the shadow to prove that she wasn't crazy. But instead of the stuffed animal just hitting the wall, it hit the shadow, and the figure moved slightly. Part of me felt bad.
She got a
was
dude in her
practically
house.
tears when she was telling me all this. I wasn't lying when I said I was about to break the promise of not judging her. I have a bad habit of turning things into jokes in serious moments to cope with my awkward emotions.
Stalker shit.
And in this situation, humor failed. I smiled and told her that it had to be the monster under her bed. She was even more upset by that comment. She went on to say that this is why she didn't want to tell me, because she knew that I would think she was crazy.
This dude got no game, man.
I told her I didn't think she was crazy, and that there was most definitely some kind of rational explanation. I suggested that maybe it was some type of sleep paralysis. I remember hearing stories of people seeing shadow entities, but she was convinced that it wasn't that. I told her to try sleeping with the light on. If the light were super bright, then no shadow monsters can form. She told me that she tried that, and instead of seeing a shadow in the corner of her room, the closet door cracked open on its own, and the shadow was in the closet. I hate to say this and sound like an insensitive jerk, but I was starting to think that JoJo was a little crazy. It's not that I didn't believe her, it's that I didn't believe she was seeing a shadow monster or whatever.
Yeah, I was about to say, man.
In my opinion, there's always an explanation for the unexplainable. In an effort to do some damage control for my monster under the bed comment, I agreed to stay over that night. It was like 8 o'clock that night, and she was already falling asleep on the couch during the movie we were watching. She was exhausted from not sleeping well for the last few weeks. I remember having a fleeting thought that maybe JoJo was hallucinating from lack of sleep. I decided not to wake her up since she looked so uncomfortable. She was dead asleep, fully extended on the couch, and I was sitting upright next to her head playing with her hair. A few hours had passed, and I finally started getting tired. I turned the TV off and tried to get as comfortable as I could while sitting in this upright position. Eventually, I fell asleep. I don't recall the exact time, but JoJo woke me up at some point during the night. She looked terrified and told me to look in the doorway at the far side of the room. I squinted, and I had to admit, even though it was nearly pitch black, I did see a strange shadow that didn't make a lot of sense. I tried to get up to investigate, but she grabbed my arm and begged me to stay where I was.
Nah, get
I
up out of
started
there.
to shout at the shadow, and I felt crazy. It literally felt like I was just yelling at the dark. She was crying and told me that because I could also see the shadow, it must be some kind of entity.
Bro, get up! What are we?
Said that
Oh, hell
was
no,
just
man.
hoping that she was crazy and seeing things. I told her it wasn't an entity, and if she would let me get up to investigate, I could prove that it was nothing. But she still held me down.
Dude just sitting there looking at him?
I asked her what happens next, and she said nothing. Just stares at her. I was being ignorant at the time because this all just seemed ridiculous to me. If whatever this thing is was real and doesn't move or attack, then who cares?
Bro, get up.
I decided I was going to pick up one of the throw pillows on the couch that was next to me and throw it at the shadow in the doorway. My logic was that if it's truly just a shadow in the doorway...
Bro, what is this shit? Get up and go see what that is, man.
This pillow will go right through it. Just as I was about to throw the pillow, JoJo stopped me.
You about to break some shit.
She reminded me that she already threw something at it and the shadow moved. She didn't want it to move again. I told her I needed to see it for myself. I grabbed the pillow and threw it as hard as I could at the doorway, expecting to see the pillow continue to sail right through the shadowy door frame. Instead, I heard a thud, and I watched the pillow hit something and fall to the ground. Then, whatever shadow was in the doorway slowly disappeared into the room behind the doorway. I sat up now, and for the first time, I was on high alert. I could not explain what that was.
He about to go grab some shit of his own and throw it, man. What is this?
JoJo was hysterical on the couch.
These dudes some bots, man. I ain't finna hold you, man.
Something wasn't right. Even though she continued to hold me down, I got up and made my way to the doorway. She was screaming at this point to come back to the couch. When I got to the doorway, I didn't enter right away because I heard something. It was a whisper coming from the dark room. I tried to hear what it was saying, but I couldn't make out any words, just that it was definitely the sound of a whisper. As I tried to take a step into the dark room, the door closed on my face, causing me to fall back. I heard JoJo scream behind me. I got up and tried to enter the room, but the door was locked. I could hear the sound of things moving and breaking from the other side of the door. It sounded like a whirlwind on the other side. Then it was quiet. I left the door and turned on the light. I went to my bag, which was next to the couch, and grabbed my keys. I had one of those tools on my keychain to pick a lock. I successfully picked the lock and went into the room. I turned on the light, and the room was a mess. JoJo had used this room for her home office. It had a desk, a computer, a bookcase, and a bunch of books and paper.
Dude, he messes all up for himself, man. As soon as he walked up in there and like he had lost sight of him, bro, he could have got, you know what I'm saying, attacked right then and there, man.
For work. The furniture, all the books and papers were everywhere in this room. It was like a tornado was set loose in there. Two things I noticed right away were that the window in that room was wide open and there was no screen, and most importantly, no shadowy figure anywhere to be seen. She had a dude coming to her house
every night.
I could hear JoJo yelling from the couch, asking if I was okay. I came out and told her that everything's okay and that the room was a mess. I suggested calling the police, and she claimed that it wouldn't do anything. She insisted that it was some paranormal entity. I wasn't sure what it was. I was freaked out in the moment, but now that it was gone, I had calmed down and was trying to find a rational solution. I didn't call the police, and I helped JoJo clean the room. She stayed at my apartment for a few nights after our first eventful sleepover. When we finally went back to her place, I agreed to stay over, and there was no shadow figure. When she finally stayed home alone for the first time, she said she slept through the nights without any encounters. 5 years later, and I'm engaged to JoJo now, and we still mash heads with each other over that night. She's convinced that it was a supernatural entity, and I'm convinced that it isn't. The one thing we do agree on is, whatever it was...
Hey, whatever works for you, man.
I witnessed it with my own eyes and ears. I often think to myself, what would be scarier, if a shadow monster was in her place, or if a person was just there watching her sleep? Either way, I'm happy it never happened again. At least, not yet.
I'd assume they ain't in that house no more. They should be, alright? I mean, 5 years is a pretty long time.
When I was in high school, I wasn't exactly a popular kid. I wasn't bullied or anything like that. I just wasn't the kid who was invited to every party, and that was okay. My parents were strict, so strict that it reached the level of annoyance. I was rarely allowed to do anything, so not being invited to parties and other gatherings worked out. All through high school, I basically had one friend, Evan. His parents were more strict than mine. Whenever I was allowed to do anything, it was only with Evan. One weekend during senior year, my parents were going out of town. Even though I was 18 at that time, my parents still didn't want me to stay home alone, which seems ridiculous to me, but every parenting style is different. I begged them for weeks leading up to their trip to let me stay at home alone. I told them I would invite Evan to sleep over so I wouldn't be alone.
Damn, 18 and can't be home alone.
Games. I realized for some people this would be the perfect setup for the classic cliche high school party, but not for us. I was 100% serious about my plan to just stay in and play PlayStation all weekend. My parents finally agreed, and for the first time in my life, I felt a minor shred of independence. This is where my story is about to take a dark turn. The weekend arrived, and Evan came over as planned. Friday night, we ordered a bunch of pizza and wings and played Kingdom Hearts 2. This was a nostalgic game for both of us. I don't recall the exact time, but it was late, and the doorbell rang. It scared both of us. When you're not expecting the doorbell to ring, especially late into the night, it would scare you as well. We didn't answer it right away. Evan said it might have just been a mistake, and we should probably just ignore it. A few seconds later, the doorbell rang again. He tried to hold me back, but I told him I needed to answer it in case something bad happened to my parents. I walked slowly to the front door. During my slow crawl to the door, the bell rang again. After 3 rings, this wasn't a mistake. Somebody had to be out there. My heart was racing, and I opened the front door, knowing that the screen door was still locked. Once I opened the door completely, I was shocked to find nobody standing there. I looked out the screen window on the door, and from my vantage point, I didn't see anyone walking down the street or off the property. I heard Evan shout from the living room, asking who was there, but I didn't answer right away. I thought about going out front and looking around, but my scared nature got the better of me. I went back and told Evan it had to be a mistake. I told him nobody was out there. Obviously, we were both on edge the rest of the night. That may seem like we were being cowards, but if it happened to you, I bet you would feel a little off also. Neither one of us got a good night's sleep.
You got a friend there. You'd think he'd get up too.
We both went in and out of sleep, and every noise inside and out made us jump. Morning came, and we went outside for a while. We sat out there and talked for hours. Eventually, I had forgotten all about the doorbell the night before. That night, we had leftover pizza and continued playing video games. At 1:13 in the morning, my doorbell rang again. This time, I looked at the clock. This was not a coincidence anymore. I felt terrified, but I still got up and approached the door. The doorbell rang again as I forcibly opened the door. This time, behind the screen was an elderly woman. She was a short woman with white hair and wrinkled skin, and she had a long coat on even though it was almost 70 degrees that night. She had one of those scarf things in her hair. I never thought of an old woman as unsettling, but standing on my doorstep at this hour made me think twice about that. Neither one of us said anything for a few seconds. She had a weird smile on her face. Finally, she spoke. She asked if Mr. Walker was home. I paused for a second just because I was still processing everything that was happening. Then I told her that nobody by that name lives here. Her smile slowly faded, and then she sort of made a noise that sounded sympathetic. She smiled big again and said, "Oh yes, that's right. Mr. Walker doesn't live here anymore." I forced a smile and told her to have a good night, but before I could close the door all the way, she spoke up again. She asked if Joe was still around. I told her she had the wrong house and that I would appreciate it if she would leave.
Here we are.
She started to laugh. She said that Joe was still inside the house, and I asked her what she meant by that. She continued laughing and told me that she could hear him inside. I said okay and slammed the door. As I walked away, I could still hear her laughing outside. Evan started to question what had happened, and I told him to be ready to call the police, just in case this woman who was clearly insane didn't want to leave.
Here we are.
A few minutes later, I looked out the front windows and saw her standing in the middle of the street facing my house. It was dark and kind of hard to see, but I'm pretty sure she was still smiling.
I'm having him caught a cop.
We contemplated calling the police, but I didn't know what type of issues that would potentially raise. If this happened to me today, I would have called the police right away, but as a teenager who was pretty sheltered, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. At 3 in the morning, I looked out the window.
Bro, come on, man.
Again.
She's summoning demons on your house, man.
Same spot. For almost 2 hours,
But these
she
dudes put
stood out
problems on
there.
herself.
I decided at that point that I had enough. I was going to yell through the screen door to go away, or I was going to call the cops. As I opened the door, I didn't have time to shout at her, because she started to sprint at my front door at a shocking speed. This woman was old, very old, and I have no idea how she was able to move that fast.
Track star in high
I
school,
can't even
boy.
begin to describe how terrifying it is to see someone that old move that fast. It seemed unnatural.
What he did he run?
Before she got to the house, I slammed the front door.
Bro,
and screamed. Evan came over to the front door to see what was going on. Before I could even explain, I saw Evan standing there like a statue. He stuttered, but eventually got the words out of his mouth. He said, "The window." I looked back at the window next to the front door, and looking through the glass window was the old woman smiling. She was bending sideways in an almost unnatural way. I grabbed the house phone and called the police. For a few minutes, the woman stood in the exact spot, staring through the window and not moving. A couple of minutes before a squad car arrived, she left. I could tell the cop was apprehensive about everything we told him. At the end of the day, we were just a couple of high school kids telling a story about an unnaturally fast and athletic elderly woman. I wouldn't believe me either. He took our statements and left. In case it wasn't obvious already, we didn't sleep that night. I expected her to show up as soon as the cop left, but thankfully she never came back that night. My parents came home late Monday morning. I wasn't going to tell them what happened, but eventually I caved in. I didn't like lying to my parents, and not telling them that I called the police made me feel like I was keeping something big from them. I told them everything. I told them about the doorbell on Friday night, and then the old lady at the door on Saturday night. As I told them the story, both of my parents looked sick, but not for the reason I thought. They didn't seem to be concerned about the old woman terrorizing us from the street. They were more afraid of what she said when she initially showed up, when she asked about Mr. Walker and Joe.
I bet they know exactly who that is or something, so it's about to get deep.
I had just assumed that these were just random people that this old crazy woman mentioned, but as it turned out, it was much darker. She asked if Joe was still around, and then claimed he was still inside. Well, my parents decided to finally tell me that when they bought the house when I was 5 years old, they got a great deal on it because a man murdered his wife and then himself. His name was Joe. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was terrified.
So it's haunted and shit.
This woman said she could still hear him inside. I tried to calm myself down by telling myself that this woman must have known this man when he lived there. I wish that's where the story ended, but things are about to get even more disturbing. While I was sitting out there trying to process the news about Joe, my dad told me there was more. The reason we moved out of our first house when I was 5 years old was that this man, who called himself Mr. Walker, would terrorize my family and stalk our house. He would call at all hours of the night.
So before they even moved there, it seemed like this old lady know the lore on the family and everything, man. Oh, that's what I'm saying, man. He let her summon demons on the house and shit. She got away scot-free, man. You gotta be prepared for shit like this. It sounds crazy.
And even show up on the doorstep and continuously try to break in. My parents called the police many times, but they couldn't do anything. This went on for months. My dad, who used to hunt, had rifles and would stay up all night and try to catch Mr. Walker. One night, Mr. Walker successfully broke into the house, and my dad took a shot. He didn't know if he missed him or hit him in the shoulder. He ran away, and my dad never saw him again. We moved away a few weeks later, and after that ordeal is when my parents became so strict. It took me a while to process everything my parents told me. I was angry that they never told me before, but I understood.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
After all this, I'm still left scratching my head. We still have no idea who that woman was and how she knew so much, especially about Mr. Walker.
Oh, hell no,
That night
man.
with Evan happened 16 years ago now. During that time, the woman never came back. I don't live at home anymore, but whenever I visit my parents, I find myself looking out that front window, just wondering where that old woman went. Maybe my parents were cursed, I don't know. I just hope all the dark clouds that followed us for years have finally gone away.
She got a fucked up back. She don't even need no cane, boy. She faster than both them kids. She low-key tough for that, I ain't gonna lie.
This isn't your typical scary story that you hear every day. There's no ghosts or demons or creepy stalkers, just the potential confirmation that monsters are real and they can literally live next door to you. For the majority of my life, I never really thought of this story as scary. Just weird and maybe slightly unnerving, but not scary. I've told it for years now, and when I do, people are always freaked out.
Cool, seems like we get a break.
It was just recently that I started to think about this story differently, and now I think it's horrifying. I don't know exactly how old I was, but I was in 5th grade, so I was likely around 10. I had a lot of friends in and outside of school. My parents would call me a social butterfly. In the middle of the school year, we got a new student in the class. His name was Alfred. He was a little awkward.
I could already tell he monster.
It's hard being the new kid, and it's even harder to be the new kid halfway through the year. I remember some of my friends making fun of him because of his name. They started calling him the Butler because that's the name of Batman's butler in the comics. Then the name got shortened to the Butt. You can imagine how much a bunch of 5th graders loved that name. Even all the girls started calling him that. I felt bad, but it didn't look like it bothered Alfred that much.
Okay.
He just took the verbal abuse as it came and went about his life. I think the reason I had a soft spot for Alfred was that his family moved into the house that was directly next door to mine. We rode the bus together and walked home together. I realized in those short walks that he and I had a lot in common that my other friends didn't like. Specifically, we both loved professional wrestling, which my other friends hated with a passion. It's one of those things that you either like or hate. I feel like there isn't much middle ground with wrestling. We bonded over this general interest for a couple of months, but we never hung out outside of school. Even in school, our conversations were brief. I sat with my other friends at lunch, and they refused to let Alfred sit with us. Kids are ruthless, but Alfred didn't care. One Friday afternoon, when I got home from school, my mom was on the phone. She was doing her classic friendly mom voice. When she hung up, she told me she was talking to Alfred's mom on the phone.
Hey, my mom be like that too.
His mom apparently told my mom that he's been struggling in school and that she thinks it's because mostly everyone is mean to him except for me. She asked my mom if I could come over for a sleepover that night. I liked the kid fine, but I didn't want to sleep at his house. My friends would kill me if they found out. My mom, being the nice woman she is, told Alfred's mom that I would love to stay over. I didn't try fighting with my mom because I knew this would be an argument I would lose. I figured I could talk wrestling and I would just make the best of it. I went over in the late afternoon. His parents were super nice. His dad was wearing a wrestling shirt and was outgoing. He was doing a bunch of impressions and started talking to me about wrestling, and I was honestly having a good time. As it got late, his parents told us that they were going to bed and that we could stay up as late as we wanted, as long as we weren't loud and didn't go in the basement. After they went upstairs, I asked him why we couldn't go in the basement, and he told me that his dad has stuff down there for his job that's dangerous. It's just best to avoid going down there so we don't get hurt. I thought that was weird, but I shrugged it off. We hung out for a while,
what you mean?
And eventually we went to sleep.
Thought they was gonna go in
Alfred
the basement.
Went to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I never could whenever I stayed overnight somewhere.
I was like that
I
as a
just
kid.
didn't sleep
like,
well
really?
when I wasn't home. During the night, I heard his dad come downstairs. I pretended like I was sleeping. A few seconds later, I heard him walk away and open a door in the connecting hallway. He closed the door behind him, and I could hear footsteps descending from the vent near my head. I didn't hear anything for a little. I thought it was weird that his dad woke up in the middle of the night and went into the basement, but I didn't really care.
There you are.
And I heard a strange, muffled sound coming from the vent. It sounded like a TV, but a little more static. The sound was way too distorted for me to hear anything specifically. It was probably close to an hour, and the distorted sound ended, and I heard him come upstairs again. He walked back to the living room, stood for a moment, and then went back upstairs.
That is weird.
I fell asleep not long after that.
Yeah, okay.
When I woke up in the morning, Alfred's dad was making breakfast.
That is a weird thing to do in
the same vibrant guy I met yesterday afternoon.
At night.
While we were eating, he started talking about older wrestling. He said that he had a ton of wrestling shows that were recorded on VHS tapes in the basement. Alfred perked up and told me that I had to watch some of these matches because they were amazing. His dad said to me that if it was okay with my parents, I could stay over again and that he would grab some tapes from the basement for us to watch. I said okay because I wasn't planning on doing anything else anyway, and I thought it would be cool to watch some old wrestling that I'd never seen before. He told us he had to run out for a few hours, but when he came back, we would watch some tapes if I was still over. I was excited. I remember thinking to myself that he must have gone down into the basement last night to watch some old wrestling. That would explain the older TV static sound I heard from the vent. My mom said I could stay over again. I started talking to Alfred about some of the tapes, and he was going into details of awesome-sounding matches I needed to see. I told Alfred I heard his dad go into the basement last night, and it sounded like he was watching something. He seemed confused, like he didn't understand why his dad would go into the basement in the middle of the night. In my attempt to snap him out of confusion, I suggested maybe we go down into the basement and look at his legendary wrestling tape collection.
All right.
Alfred looked nervous.
No, yeah. All right, come on. We just shouldn't be doing that.
He said we really shouldn't go down there, especially without his dad. Being the terrible friend I was, I told him that he wouldn't even know we went down there. We'll go look at the tapes and then be back upstairs.
Look, man, these dudes do it to himself.
He was reluctant, but agreed. I think,
like, we got no proof this dad, you know, or whatever house is some freaky, you know what I'm saying, creepy ass house. He finna do some dumb shit and it's gonna happen. Something bad.
I think he just wanted to be agreeable because he didn't want to jeopardize our new friendship. We snuck into the basement and it looked like a typical old basement. It was dark, cold, and unfinished. In the back of the basement was this creepy yellow wooden door with spray paint on it that said, "Get out." When I pointed to the ominous-looking door, he said that it was like...
See, we being too deep. I'd have probably opened that shit.
Like that.
But I would have never went down there.
His dad thought it was cool, so he left it. Alfred approached the yellow door and said that the tapes were behind the door. He opened the door, and it was an entire wall of shelves with videotapes on them. The opposite side of the shelves next to the door was an older TV with a VCR. This must be where he was watching the tapes last night. I started looking at the videotapes, and every one of them was labeled with a piece of tape that listed the wrestling event and year. Alfred told me his dad calls himself a tape trader, which is exactly as it sounds. Wrestling fans used to trade wrestling tapes to acquire rarer matches and wrestling from other countries. I was amazed by this. As I was running my fingers across one of the shelves, I noticed a few tapes scattered among the hundreds of videotapes that would say things like Wrestling Tape 1 and Wrestling Tape 2 and so on. Everything else was detailed. It felt weird that these ones were so basic. I grabbed the tape that said Wrestling Tape 2 and made my way to the VCR.
Shit,
Alfred asked what I was doing, and I told him I wanted to see what was on one of these random tapes. He told me to hurry up so we wouldn't get in trouble. I inserted the tape, and instead of wrestling coming up, it was static, grainy footage of a red backdrop. Everything on the screen was red. A red wall, floor, and ceiling. The only other thing in the fuzzy image was a wooden chair. While the tape was playing, nothing was happening in the image on the screen. But in the background, you could hear screaming. The type of screaming that still lingers in your head decades later.
Oh shit.
Just as I was about to eject the tape, a man in a mask came onto the screen in a disturbingly cheerful voice and said to the camera, "Stay tuned. You'll want to see what happens next." He started to laugh as the screams just outside the camera view got louder. Alfred stopped the VCR and said he heard a car outside. He turned the TV off and ran upstairs as fast as we could. His dad came inside and was acting goofy, just like he had been for all of our other interactions. He told us to give him a few minutes, and then he would find some matches for us to watch. His dad went downstairs, and when he did, I remembered that I forgot to eject the tape and put it back. I didn't say anything to Alfred.
But his dad gotta act it out. You know, because he gotta explain that, but he not. Some little kids, he gonna have to act it out. Oh, and save it back up. I don't know what that was.
His dad came upstairs, and he looked angry. He wasn't acting silly and outgoing anymore.
Ooh.
He came to the living room and told me that I needed to go home, then walked away. Alfred tried asking him why I needed to leave, but I just left. I felt so uncomfortable that I didn't want to stay any longer in that house. That next Monday, Alfred wasn't in school. When I got home, I went over to his house to see if he was okay. He answered the door, and he looked like he was crying. He said his family was moving immediately because his dad got a new job. I asked if he was okay since he looked like
he probably got beat. So what, his dad was some killer clown or something? What was this?
And after a strangely long pause, he mumbled he was okay. His dad emerged from one of the rooms behind him, and Alfred just said he needed to go and shut the door on me. I thought it was weird that he was just moving abruptly, but I went about my life as normal.
It must have been something deep.
I started to enjoy hanging out with him, but at the end of the day, he wasn't one of my best friends. Literally the next day, he was gone. Our teacher made an announcement at school that he wasn't coming back, and of course, nobody cared. It was years later when I brought up the story again to a bunch of friends when we were hanging out. I told them about the tapes and the weird red room. One of my friends started freaking out and telling me this story about something called the Red Room, which was only accessible on the dark web, something I had never heard of. I told them that this was way before the internet had videos because it was on VHS tape, and my friend suggested that maybe this was some kind of early form of what the Red Room would become. I dismissed the theory because it seemed way too ridiculous.
Nah, at that point, somebody got to, because I don't mess with none of that, but somebody got to show them. We got to see if this is the same thing.
As the years passed and I continued telling the story, more and more people started to agree with the Red Room theory. One time, we even tried looking up Alfred on social media, and he doesn't exist. It's like his family was here and then vanished. I still don't know if I believe I saw something that twisted and dark, but the more I read about this stuff, the more it makes sense. As an adult, if I think about this story too much, I start to lose sleep. I sincerely hope that whatever this tape was...
Yeah, I'm confused. Did he trade for those or something?
Because if it was real, and it was an early form of the Red Room, just knowing that I was that close to a monster like that will keep me awake for years to come.
That's freaky, boy. He ain't know nothing. His dad was a whole different person or something. I don't know. Alright, YouTube, we're going to end it right there. I'm going to catch you on the next video.